We practice our come-home speech, and then on top of that, when we give the come-home speech, it usually involves us wanting to be an employee of God, not a son of God. That's what he said. He goes, I want to be your servant. I'm not good enough to be a child. I want to be your servant. The father goes, get that crap out of here. You're a child, and we're going to party. That is grace. We're not under contract. We're under covenant. There's a big difference. When an employee does something wrong, you get fired. When a child does something wrong, the parent gets more intimately involved in that kid's life. Oh. That's the difference of grace. That's where we stop. That's it. Great story, really cool, really awesome. And we just stop. It keeps going, and we never read that part. 25. Now his older son was in the field, and as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked, what these things meant? And the servant said to him, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound. But he was angry and refused to go into his father and came out and entreated. But his father came out and entreated him. But he answered his father, look, these many years I have served you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him. And the father said, son, you are always with me. All that is mine is yours, and it was fitting to celebrate and be glad. For this your brother was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and now he's found. Mm-hmm. Now see, that's Act 2. Act 1 is the prodigal son. Act 2 is the older son. And the older son represents a lot of people in this room too. The older son is when someone gets saved, we say, that's not fair. I've been hanging out. I've been reading my Bible. I've been listening to good Christian music. Why did they get to have sex? Why did they get to smoke weed? And why did they get to now come to forgiveness and grace and be a Christian? That's not fair. And like I said earlier, you don't want fair. You don't want fair. He says, that's not fair. What does the father do? Here's another thing too, is the father entreats him. Sometimes I think people my age can get really mean-spirited towards religious people to the point where you just say, we don't need him, get out of here. Which is funny because it's just as much a religious spirit as the person that's exhibiting it. But what's funny is he doesn't do that. He entreats them. He entreats him. He comes outside and says, come on into the party. This is so much better than you pouting out here. This is so much better thinking you're an awesome Christian out here. There's a feast. There's a calf. There's party. There's music. There's drinks. Grape juice if you're a Baptist. It's awesome. Right? And we're going to party. We're going to party. That's what he says. You can party, whatever. Party with everyone. Smoke kazoos, do your thing. But he says we're going to party, and he entreats him. The best part about the story, right here, is that how does it end? It says he entreated him, and that was it. It doesn't say the older brother's response. It doesn't say the older brother's response, which is interesting if you think about that. So the prodigal son went out, came back in, came under covenant, became a son, started to come to the feast of heaven and salvation and grace per se, which is what this is representing. And then God approaches the older son and says, you can have the same thing. Cut. Wow. Think about that. Jesus, if he's writing an English paper, he gets an F on this one. There's no conclusion. Like he literally, the father goes down and treats him, and then that's it. It's like, come on, Jesus, give me some more. Right? It's like I just got incepted or something, It's like, what just happened? But it ends abruptly because he's leaving the invitation opening for you today. Remember who he was telling that story to? He was telling that to the religious people, and so that's why he left it open, because they hadn't come into the party yet. The sinners and tax collectors had. So he was leaving it open-ended for any religious person in here. What I mean by that is the person who struggles more with trying to earn God. He leaves it open because you want to come into the party, it's so much better. There's freedom, there's joy, you can stop working, you can rest, you can have fun. Come into the party. And that's what he says. Is the older son or the younger son went out far and was an enemy of God, but what's the enemy that we never attack is the one who lives on the same property but is not inside the party. Come on. He looks like a son, he dresses like a son, he talks like a son.
You're okay.
But by this story, he's not a Christian because the party represents salvation. How many times have we ever brought someone before church discipline because they listen to Hillsong United too much? Or they read their Bible too much? Or they are really a good Christian, but you've never really seen any joy. You've never seen them pray for anyone. You've never seen them love anyone. You've never seen them serve anyone. But they got the checklist down. Why don't they get brought for church discipline? Why is it always got to be the person that just has sex and sleeps with someone? Because apparently, it sounds like in that story, they're just as equal enemies of God. Just as equal. Ultimately, we want to find joy in Jesus, which means he will transform our behavior. This isn't just you can do whatever the crap you want type of grace. Because grace, when you truly understand it, transforms your life to the point you want to obey him. Right? I mean, think about that. If a 5,000 boulder dropped on my head, am I going to look different? So why do I think that if the grace of God from a holy, infinite person drops on me, I'm not going to look any different?
Come on.
That's stupid. If you really think that the grace of God can come into me, the Holy Spirit can indwell me, and I'm not going to look any different. So if you think that you can do whatever you want when you're a Christian and not look any different, I'd be really scared. You're probably not one. Because that should never be a desire in the heart of the Christian. And so what I want to leave you with tonight is when you understand this, when you understand the beauty of the gospel, the beauty of grace, real grace, the scandalous grace that says, I don't care what you've done, you can come in. I don't care what you've done, you can come into the party. Why? Because it's about my love and my nature, not your behavior.
Woo! Come on!
That is the gospel of grace. And when you understand that, it'll transform your life so much that, man, you'll look at someone who doesn't look like you. You'll look at someone who doesn't talk like you. You'll look at someone who maybe doesn't dress like you and say, man, you're my brother, you're my sister. We're going to make this work, and we're going to show Jesus by how we relate to one another. That is becoming one. That is becoming
Come
one.
on! Woo!
So I want to leave you guys with that tonight. That if you're struggling with unity and you're struggling with oneness, it's probably because you don't get grace. Probably because you don't understand the gospel. Let me pray. Jesus, we just want to thank you. Standing up here, I just